Hi, this is question 18 on TMUA 2017 paper 2. So here we've been given a problem which is to solve this inequality where n is a positive integer, and the students had a go at solving this, and these are the steps they give in their argument, and we want to know which of these steps, if any of them, are invalid. Okay, so let's have a look at this first step where we go from this first line to this second one. So when we take log base a half of a quarter to the n, that's like saying what power do I need to raise 1/2 to get a quarter to the n. And similarly, when we take log base a half of 1/32 to the 10, then that's like saying what power do I need to raise a half to get 1/32 to the 10. And also remember, for numbers that are less than 1, then when we raise to a higher power, then we're going to get a smaller number as a result. So that means because 1/4 to the n is less than 1/32 to the 10, we're going to have to raise a half to a higher power to get to this smaller number. So because the log is the power that we raise to, the graph of log base a half is going to look something like this, right? So if we want a really small number, then we're going to have to raise a half to a really high power. And for a large number, we're going to have to raise a half to a small or a negative power. So you don't have to be able to draw this graph, but it's just to show you that there's this inverse relationship between x and log base a half of x. So the greater the x, the smaller the log base a half of x. But then we've got that 1/32 to the 10 is greater than 1/4 to the n. Therefore, because of this inverse relationship, log base a half of 1/32 to the 10 should be smaller than 1/4 to the n. But here we've got the inequality saying that this is bigger, so this inequality is wrong. And this step that the student made is invalid. So now we've figured out that step 1 is invalid. We don't even need to look at the rest of these steps because there is only one option here that will let us say that 1 is invalid. So we immediately have that the answer is B. Now if you wanted to check through the rest of these steps, just make sure, I guess. For step 2, we're just taking the powers down to the front, and that's a standard property of logs, so step 2 is fine. For step 3, we're dividing through by this log base a half of a quarter, and we can always divide as long as it's not 0. And log a half of a quarter is not going to be 0, because you only get 0 when you're taking log of 1. So step 3 is also okay. For step 4, if you raise a half to the power of 5, you get 1/32. So log base a half of 1/32 is indeed going to be 5. And similarly, a half to the 2 is going to give you a quarter, so log of a quarter is going to be 2. So step 4 is also good. And for step 5, we've got a positive integer, and it's going to be strictly less than 25. So it can only be an integer between 1 and 24, so 5's also good.